So there I was, as my life flashed before my eyes. I was begging for my dignity, begging for my bowels. But what did it take to get to this point? This is the horror story of my overseas field trip. I went to a private Chinese high school back in the day. So one thing my school was famous for was this overseas field trip to China. We'd spend 6 weeks in the province, and the program was designed so that we could learn to appreciate our cultural heritage, get back with our roots, and get better at the language too. But what I signed up for was nothing like what was advertised, and I'm about to tell you why. For now though, it's around 3 o'clock in the morning right now. I'm with high school me on my way to school, because that's where we're gonna meet up before we head to the airport. So I'd heard that the dorms were gonna be a lot better than before, and that was a big relief because I'd heard horror stories. But I found out that better was a relative term because when I got there, I found out I was gonna be sharing this room with a few friends. Little brown friends, and I hated cockroaches. Like, there's just something about the way they move their legs that creeps you out. And these guys, they scattered under the floor, under the beds, under the bathtub, and there were lots of holes in the bathroom, just where they could scurry into and hide, and I saw them go in. So from then on, I prepared myself. I just braced myself, and I knew this was gonna be a weird trip. So from there, I had to do a bit of adapting. Very specific detail about me when I sleep. If my bed's against the wall or something, I like to stick my hand in the crevice because usually that spot is colder than the mattress. But nope, I was not gonna be doing this here when sticking my hand in any tight space might mean touching one of my little friends. I learned to squat on the toilet, and I can see why squat toilets were a fashion there. I mean, the toilet had no seat and no lid, and my roommate liked sitting on it, so okay, that was enough reason for me to go squat mode. And speaking of my roommate, I'd like to introduce him to you. So meet Jonathan. Jonathan is the guy I describe as quirky. I found out on the first day when I woke up, saw him awake, and okay, guess this guy woke up earlier than me. Had to get ready for school though, because it was a pretty early day. So I took a shower, come out, and told him to go with me, and he was confused. Turned out it was actually 3 a.m. and he hadn't slept. So that was the first thing I found out about Jonathan. This guy did not sleep. We'd call him 7-Eleven because he'd be awake pretty much 24/7. I would wake up in the middle of the night several times and see him still awake. And I'd always check my phone to be sure it was 3 a.m. and not 6 a.m. This guy also would use the toilet so much, like he must have had a really powerful digestive tract. He'd be there 3-4 times a day, which wasn't a problem for me. I mean, I could hold it in for a while, I guess. But this would be a bigger problem later. Remember them for later. So along the way, we also had this little field trip within a field trip. After we got settled, we packed our bags again, and we left off to the countryside where we could see nature and all that kind of stuff. It was part of our curriculum, Like, we even stumbled upon this one really filthy lake that I almost jumped into because there was just so much moss on top of it that it looked like it was grass. And we had to take a sample of it, and I put it in one of my water bottles. It kind of looked like the tea we would buy, but again, another relevant detail. But I can say the biggest crisis of this trip was the plague. Half the class caught this stomach bug that gave everyone diarrhea and vomiting, and it was so bad that some people had to be sent to the hospital. And Jonathan almost got sent himself, but turns out he wasn't even sick at all, he was just sleep deprived. I caught it too, and in hindsight, I might have swapped the lake water and drank it by accident. But it was horrific. Every bathroom was occupied for most of the day. And even without diarrhea, Jonathan already was using the toilet 3 or 4 times a day. So I had trouble myself. There were times where I had to go and share with other people. And if I thought I had problems, other people weren't even taking care of their bathrooms. I mean, there were people who just left poop all over the lid. And I was not gonna sit on that, so I tried to squat. And one time, I missed. They didn't even get angry. They're just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, can I take a picture of it? But the climax came one fateful night. My condition had worsened. I could not sleep because every 10 minutes the Reaper would appear and tear my soul out of my bottom end. And for once, it stopped long enough for me to go to sleep, but that respite would not last for long. I woke up and I knew I was ready to blow for another reaping. But hey, remember when I told you that Jonathan doesn't sleep? At this time, he was not asleep. He was taking a shower. And the thing about this bathroom was that there was no divider. The toilet and the shower were kind of just all in one. But I didn't care. I had to bang. I was banging on it, banging for my dignity, just begging for him to open the door. So he opened the door, and naked, he turned around. So I stepped inside, sat on the porcelain throne that I waited so long to access. We closed our eyes together, and we listened to the symphony of The next day, my condition was a lot better, so I was able to relax a bit and go out, though I still had to keep my butt cheeks clenched for most of the day, especially on the hiking trip. On this trail, there were horses everywhere, and these horses just love to poop. And the thing about these horses was that when they pooped, no one would clean it up, so this trail was just so full of it, and we were playing the floor is lava because of how few spots on the ground were not just completely covered in horse poop. It was an interesting trail though, and the view at the top was definitely worth it. And the plot thickened when we returned to our main dorm. So I was helping a sick friend of mine carry his bag, and then I realized that I didn't have my bag with me. So quickly I ran back to the drop-off spot and I found out that my bag was just gone. Like it wasn't there, it probably was pinched by some thief. And that was really bad news for me. The only clothes I had left were 3 shirts, my jacket, 2 pairs of jeans, socks, and underwears, and half my pocket money. This was what I had to live on for the next 4 weeks. So I had to mess around with the routines a little bit. I used to take advantage of the laundry machines at the dorms, but I couldn't just keep using the washing machine or else I'd go broke. So instead, I woke up earlier every morning and just washed them by hand. Except for my pants. My pants, I tried to fit them in with my friend's schedules at the washing machines. Now, even though we had these things, we didn't really have dryers over there. We would hang our clothes on the drying racks, and for underwear, other things, we'd hang them in the rooms. But then for me, that wasn't fast enough. I needed them to dry quicker. So I looked for a workaround. I found that the wind was stronger upstairs where our rooms were than downstairs where the drying racks were. So instead, I would just hang them on the telephone wires outside the window and then use tape and clips to make sure they wouldn't fall off. I guess that kind of worked. I mean, I didn't lose any clothes. They just froze solid outside. So yes, I MacGyvered ways to deal with these huge inconveniences. And pretty much everyone else had to deal with their own inconvenience. I mean, one of my friends literally broke a leg while doing kung fu, so I don't think it gets more inconvenient than that. Aside from being some of the 6 most interesting weeks of our lives, I think there's kind of a lesson behind all of this. Aside from, watch your bag while you're traveling and don't drink filthy lake water. I remember in those moments, as angry as I was about the circumstances and how I played myself into them, I was actually laughing the entire time. It wasn't a laugh of humor, it was more of a self-conscious, humble, yet also confident laugh. One that said, hey, I know this sucks, and part of it is my fault, but I don't care, and I'm not gonna let it ruin the experience. It was a very similar feeling to when I first stepped into that dorm room and then made my decision. The decision that I would enjoy this no matter how inconvenient it got. And I think that was the moment when I started really becoming more open to the experience. When I decided to stop sweating the small stuff and just fight and enjoy what mattered most to me, which was making friends and having fun. And also not flunking out and not getting hospitalized for food poisoning, because drinking lake water kinda does that to you. I guess that's something to remember when life throws a wrench into your plans and kinda messes them up, but doesn't completely destroy them either. Sometimes, the biggest inconveniences can make for the best stories. So drop them in the comments below, I do want to hear yours too. And the rest of the trip went on with more misadventures that I just can't fit into this video. And the school was in good humor about all of it too. I mean, they even gave me an award for most objects lost, which I would really want to show you right now, but I lost it. So yeah, somehow that proves I really deserve and don't deserve that award at the same time. Anyway, that is the end of this video. I'll give you a heart for sticking around, and I'll give you another one for liking and another one for subscribing. Until then, thank you and see you again next time.